A very good evening to one and all. Resource Rethinking Urban Water Future. So, this competition or collaborative design challenge is based on 25-kilometer long Purnaiha Canal, which we are looking at it as creating a climate aware, resilient environment for Mysuru. And today we have uh, Mr. or architect Vishwa S with us, who has been a dear friend to us for the last 4 years in as a professional capacity and as a dear friend. Now I need to mention a small episode when how we met. We have done an extensive work or study on the natural drainage district of Mysuru as semester 8 program or studio, and one introductory workshop was conducted by Vishwa, wherein he really took us around as our college is situated next to one of the biggest lake in Mysuru, that is Lingambudi. He took us to the downstream and he showed us the way things happen in terms of the importance of the drainage district and the rest of the thing. I think that really gave us a good platform to take forward the studio program. So thank you for that, Vishwa. And I would like to welcome him and give a brief introduction on himself. As I mentioned, he completed his Bachelor of Architecture from Ramaiah College of Architecture from Bengaluru. And then he completed his Masters in Planning, Environmental Planning from School of Planning and Architecture, New Delhi. And at present, he is the Deputy Director of Town Planning. And at Bengaluru Development Authority is where he is presently posted. But before that, he has been in other district, you could say, of Karnataka, Karwar, Sirsi, Mysuru, Mandya, Madikeri, in various capacities, overlooking planning and development. So when we were thinking of this particular topic, we couldn't think of a better person than Vishwa. I think the kind of sensitization he has created, and then he shares with the students or the fellow professional is really appreciated. So welcome to you, Vishwa, for the webinar. Yeah, you may please start the presentation, please.
Thank you, madam. First of all, good evening for all the participants here. I thought we were talking about ecology. It would be a better setting to sit outside and give a presentation. So we'll be hearing both natural sounds and the man-made traffic sounds here because I'm in an urban setting. I'll just dwell into the presentation itself. When Champa ma'am actually approached me to speak as a resource person for this competition participants, I was really wondering in what way I'll be able to contribute, in what way I'll be able to give you the information more than what you already been given with. I'm sure you would have been briefed extensively about what Purnaiha Canal's history is, how it was historically a source of drinking water from which fed into the Kukrali Kere right from Heshti Kote probably, and it was developed by the visionary Diwan Purnaiha. And you must also have done extensive surveys already, understanding how Purnaiha Canal is surrounded by the urban expansion. It's at its threshold where development is actually eating away the spaces which was dedicated for Purnaiha Canal. You can see a lot of encroachments, you can see a lot of sewage inflow, there's urban flooding issues, unscientific concretization of the Nala, and this has led to the disconnected stream altogether. So you must be knowing all these facts. I need not speak about this uh, in any capacity at all. Uh, but I just wanted to dwell upon a couple of things. One, we should understand why we are failing to revitalize these important urban infrastructure, especially water infrastructure. I can think of a few being within the system. Generally, what happens is, when you go to a doctor, the treatment is generally symptomatic. In the present day medical scenario, we don't get into the root cause of it. We try to treat the symptoms, and somewhere even in planning and infrastructure development, that's where we are stuck. We are trying to treat the symptoms. For example, if there's an urban flooding, we try to widen the drain. If there's traffic congestion, we try to widen the road. We do not understand why that flooding is happening, or why the traffic problems have arisen in the first place. Next, whenever we speak about waterfront developments or water drain or lakefront developments, we think of beautifying those water bodies. But we rarely think about how water flows into those, canals or lakes or rivers. We don't really think about the watershed and the water bowl, what we tell. And the third aspect, what we can see is, generally, if you see, I very well remember when I was growing up in my during my childhood days in our village. My father owns a farmland which was abutting the lake of that village. That lake, I remember very well. As soon as the lake fills up during the monsoon, we used to give something called bagina. Even to this day, it is followed. A chief minister comes and gives bagina, offers bagina to River Kaveri, and we used to do that as a village. We used to go give our bagina. We used to offer our prayers, because that lake used to be the source of drinking water, for irrigation, for everything. It was not very far. It was just probably 20 years back, 25 years back. uh, and today that lake is completely dried up. And I remember when we used to offer bagina, I used to tell my father that this looks like a sea. We were small, we were young, and the lake was very big, and the water used to go up till the horizon. And today, not a single drop of water flows into that lake. Reason being, we have completely ignored the watershed. And doing so, what has happened is our culture attached to that ecology, to that lake, is also gone. Now that lake is not, nobody values that lake. Water doesn't flow into the lake, and that cultural connect is completely destroyed. Now, I find these three things to be probably few of the many points why the urban infrastructure related to water generally fails. Now, I'll come to your competition. Now, I'm showing you a picture. If all of your architects, you can totally relate to it. This is the picture of Habitat 67. This was actually designed by an architect called Moshe Safdie. And you must also be knowing the history of it. This was his thesis project. Eventually, it was built. It was converted into a real project. Now, if I get back to my college days, I participated in one such event like how you have participated. It was the fourth phase development of Bangalore International Airport, and I won that competition. I was very proud back then. But if I look back now, that design was never implemented. And if I look at this picture here of Moshe Safdie, which his thesis project was implemented, there's a stark difference. Why? Why certain designs do not see the light of implementation, but few of them do see? Now, in today's presentation, this is exactly the question I wanted to ponder. If you guys are participating in this competition, you should be able to give solutions which are implementable. In fact, if I remember, the competition is the product of at least 3 or 4 years of effort of Mysuru School of Architecture and their team. I remember giving presentation in one of those initial sessions where it was the same question: how to implement the ideas on ground. Because you will be putting in, imagine 27 of you, at least 25 of you, putting in at least 10 hours. It's 250 human hours of dedication and hard work, and it has to be implemented. Now, the whole question is that. So, In this quest for answer, I have structured this presentation into 4 aspects. One, we need to understand how to diagnose the problem in the first place. We need to get to the root cause of the problem. Why Purnaiha Canal is dying? Why Kukrali is dying? Why the BOD levels and COD levels of Kukrali are not potable anymore? We need to analyze. Once we get the root cause of the problems, we diagnose the problems of the whole project, we need to analyze the different layers of it. And then we need to integrate all those layers, the problems, the stakeholders, and everybody, and then translate that into a design decision. This is the hypothesis I'm coming up with to you. uh, Maybe I would say there are many number of approaches for you to solve a problem. This could be one of the approach to follow. Now the 5 why problem, the diagnosis problem, it's called the 5 why problem. This is actually a management issue. This was actually developed by Toyota Motor Corporation. They had this conveyor belt system of manufacturing, and they were, Toyota is actually known for the efficiency of the work and the manufacturing what they do. And every time they faced a problem, they tried to fix it. The problem used to be fixed superficially, not, it didn't render good results with the problem, with the solutions what they used to come up with. So they developed this 5 why system where they went into the depths of the problem. So if you take a problem, you ask why, then you go 4 or 5 layers below until you go to the root cause of the problem, is what the 5 why system is. Now, considering Purnaiha Canal as a problem, we can identify flooding, pollution, hydrological disruption, ecological fragmentation, infrastructure deficit, institutional fragmentation, cultural disconnect from water, all these things as few root causes or the few problems. Now, if you go into the depths of each of these problems, we'll take up an example. We'll consider flooding. I was a resident of Bogadi for at least 5 years in Mysuru, and we used to face this constant flooding near Purnaiha Canal. Now, why was flooding happening? If I ask the first question, the first thing that comes to to our mind is high surface runoff. It's an urban setting. The roads are metalled, uh, gardens are paved, our ground coverage of all the plots are maximum. So there's high surface runoff. Now, why does that high surface runoff happen? Because of higher impervious layers in the urban surfaces. Now, why does that happen? Probably because plot level developments, because we have a lot of plotted developments in Mysore, around Purnaiha Canal. They have been ignoring the watershed. At an individual plot level, we do not understand the impact it has on the whole watershed per se. And why is this happening? Again, that's happening because planning or the plotted developments, what is happening is detached from the natural drainage lines. Now, why is that is happening? Again, because hydrology not integrated into a statutory planning. As a planner who has worked in Mysore, I can tell you that yes, the layer of hydrology is not completely integrated with the statutory planning processes what we follow. So, can we say that the root cause of flooding can be boiled down to the disconnect we have between statutory planning and the hydrology of the area? If you go further down, probably you might find another root cause of it. So once we find a root cause like this, we will be addressing the root cause so that the implication of it is trickled upwards, and then the solution will be a comprehensive solution. Similarly, can we explore, so what can be the other reason? We'll try to explore pollution. Now, Pune Canal is completely polluted. If you check the BOD, COD levels of the biological oxygen demand and the chemical oxygen demand of Kukrali, it is not potable. In fact, a recent report says it is not even fit for agriculture. Why is this happening? Because there's sewage inflow into the canal systems, there is sewage inflow into the lakes. Why is the sewage inflow happening? Because there's sewer gaps. There are illegal connections, there are disconnected infrastructure lines. And why did that happen? Probably because of rapid densification. In town planning, we have a term. Your physical infrastructure development should precede the economic development. Now, what is happening is the reverse of it. Generally, what happens is development comes in, and then the economic development comes in, and then we start to build the infrastructure lines, which is not the right way of development. But because of the rapid urbanization and all the other factors, infrastructures have not been developed to the desired levels. Now, rapid densification without infrastructure can be the problem. And why did that happen? Because infrastructure is lagging behind the urban growth. We do not have the capacity to give the necessary infrastructure necessary for the kind of urban growth what Mysuru or Bangalore or any other city in our state or in our country for that matter is witnessing. Now, why is that happening? Probably again because planning is based on land subdivision and not ecological capacity. You all must have heard of something called the carrying capacity of ecology. Given an acre of land, the kind of soil it has, the kind of soil bearing capacity it has, the kind of slope and terrain, and the soil typology and the hydrology and the water capacities available, you can decide how many people can it accommodate. But are we doing that? If we can do it for 1 acre of land, we can definitely do it for a city and a regional level as well. If we understand the ecological carrying capacity of the cities we are developing, we'll understand that our cities cannot accommodate the kind of density and the population we are heading into. So this eventually leads to the this can be one of the root causes of the pollution in Purnaiha Canal. So if we try to address this issue of understanding ecological carrying capacity, probably it might solve the problem at a comprehensive level of the pollution which we are facing in Purnaiha Canal or Kukrali Lake for that matter. Right? So this was about understanding or diagnosing the problem itself. Now let's move into the analysis of the problem. Ian McHugh, he before even GIS or AutoCAD was invented, came up with this methodology of identifying problems spatially. This is called the overlay analysis method or the weighted overlay analysis method. If you guys are familiar with GIS, these days it is done using softwares. Earlier it was being done manually. All that he did was he took transparent sheets or the gateway sheets, what we famously call, took different layers, separated different layers like the land use layer, the vegetation layer, the forest and ecological layers, the historical landscape layers, like that. Each and every layer was separated. Those layers were marked based on the weightage of or the importance of those components, and a certain degree of color was given to each of those layers. And once you overlay one above the other, the darkest portions are the ones we should not be touching, are the ones we should be safeguarding, are the ones which we have to revitalize. And the lighter portions were the ones which you have some sort of an flexibility to ingest investments, infrastructure, land use, density, and whatnot. This is what the overlay method Ian McHugh followed. So I think for analysis, you guys can also incorporate or borrow from this idea and try to understand how Purnaiha Canal can be revitalized for the whole 22 or 25 kilometer stretch from the Madgali Lake to the Kukrali Lake. Try to understand how the different urban forms, different rural forms, the land use, the density, and all of it is affecting the whole canal system. And then you can probably take up one section of the canal and try to give design solutions for it. Now, for your project per se, probably the environmental layers can be watershed boundary of the canal, contour and slope gradient, soil type and infiltration capacity, flood-prone zones, lake tank connections. And for urban layers, it can be building footprints and density, road crossings and culverts, sewer stormwater network, land ownership pattern, open spaces and institutional lands. Land ownership pattern becomes a major component in your urban layer mapping, because generally what happens in the current situation in our state and specifically to Mysuru also, just imagine you have a plot right next to the Purnaiha Canal. And imagine that is the stretch you have also picked for rejuvenating. And within the available space for Purnaiha Canal, you can't do much. You will need some space next to the Purnaiha Canal. And imagine you will be proposing some sort of an intervention in your own plot. Will you be ready to give up a certain area from your own plot? Is a question we need to ask. In Mysore, in our state, in everywhere, even in Bangalore, this is the major challenge which we are facing. If we propose any sort of a redevelopment of any infrastructure or any locality, the major issue we face is the problem of land, because each and every parcel of land is owned by one or the other person. And why would they give up their precious land which they would have bought from their hard-earned money for a social cause? Now that is something you guys will have to explore as well. Now when we overlay these layers, what we might probably end up with, we might find out the hydraulic choke points where the flooding is happening. You can also find out the ecological discontinuity, which I'm sure you guys have already mapped it. But once you understand the overlay analysis, you might get a comprehensive uh, uh, knowledge of how the ecological watershed and the canal system are disconnected. You'll also find out encroachment hotspots. Just not the planned encroachment, planned developments. There are a lot of unplanned developments which is happening around Purnaiha Canal, because uh, you know I hope you have been introduced with this whole Kharab system, whole survey number and Kharab systems, where there are certain government lands which are kept dedicated for the flow of water bodies. Now, those are the hotspots of encroachments, wherever there's not much of watch and safeguarding procedures on land. Generally, people tend to come and encroach over there. So you'll understand such hotspots as well. You'll also understand where flood amplification is happening and why it is happening. I'll give you a classic example. In Bangalore, it was, in fact, my thesis topic to understand why urban flooding is so aggravated in Bangalore. Uh, you know, City corporation is generally divided into different wards. But for a water canal, those boundaries are imaginary lines. It doesn't understand the ward boundaries. But generally, when the infrastructure development happens, the fund is given ward wise. Engineers are assigned ward wise, contractors are assigned ward wise. In one of the canals in Bangalore, what had happened is, in one of the wards, they started developing from point A and they had to reach point B. In another ward, they started from their point A and they had to reach their point B, which is the which is exactly at the point where the ward boundaries shift. Now, both of these contractors started developing the infrastructure lines, and eventually, when they came to the point where they had to meet, they didn't meet. They were uh, they were staggered by few meters, and that became a major hotspot for urban flooding. Now, these things do happen because of the lack of management in the regulatory and development framework. And then you might also come up with the restoration opportunity wherever the land parcels are available for restoration, where additional areas are available, where additional government lands are available. All these things can be uh, identified through these overlay analysis. I'm just thinking aloud. Maybe you might come up with more aspects as well. Moving further, now in the whole world, if you show this image, everybody can pinpoint to the place Mysuru. Now this is a monument. Everybody in the state, everybody in the country, everybody can identify this. We are, as Mysoreans, we are proud of this monument. But are we equally proud, or do we have an identity just like Mysore Palace to any of the natural setting, any of the ecological setting? Have you ever thought that an ecological setting can also become a landmark for a city, can also attract tourism for that city, can also bring in investments for the city? Now, that is the approach what the United Nations is exploring right now. It is called the historic urban landscape approach. I'll just read out the definition because it is quite interesting. The HUL approach is a flexible approach that moves beyond the preservation of the physical environment and focuses on the entire human environment with all of its tangible and intangible qualities. It seeks to increase the sustainability of planning and design interventions by taking into account the existing built environment, intangible heritage, cultural diversity, socio-economic and environmental factors, along with the local community values. This definition came out of a question which has been pondering all of us. Why is it that we are not able to have successful infrastructure and environmental related projects? Why is it that we are not able to implement it? When you take a physical setting, like a fort, like a palace, or a street, we are able to implement it. But when it comes to a natural setting, when it comes to an ecological space, when it comes to an environmental space, we are not able to do it. Why is it happening? And that's when all the experts probably they sat together and they came up with this idea that we have to approach the environmental issues at a comprehensive level. It has to be seen through the lens of culture. It has to be seen through the lens of socio-economic benefits. It has to be seen through the intangible heritage values. This I can relate to the statement I made in the initial slides. As long as we were culturally attached to the lake in my village, we used to protect it. And when the lake depleted, we lost the cultural connect, and the generations next, they never could connect back to that environmental setting. Nobody even values that lake. Nobody is even trying to put an effort to rejuvenate that lake. Now, can we bring back that cultural heritage aspect to the Purnaiha Canal? Because Purnaiha Canal originally was constructed to bring in drinking water to Mysuru, and it had its own cultural heritage attached to it. Now, the statement below, again, it is by the UN. Culture and values are crucial in determining policy outcomes, ensuring human-centered, inclusive, and equitable development. This is something you guys have to ponder. I really do not know, what kind of a group I'm talking to. Are you just students or working professionals? I do not understand. But being a working professional in policies, whenever we are designing policies, it is so much defined and determined by the cultural aspect of it. We become even more stringent. We become even more. We will be very careful while we are drafting the policies when it has some sort of a cultural impact to it. For example, I was in this committee formulating the master plan for Hampi. There, each and every proposal we were trying to be very careful because there was a cultural and an intangible heritage quality attached to it. So the HUL approach basically tries to understand how we can convert these design projects or uh, these rejuvenation projects into an implementable project by merging cultural, economic, social, and the institutional layers into it. So, what are the principles the urban, heritage urban land actually follow? They try to integrate social, cultural, and environmental aspects, as I told you, and then a flexible and a dynamic approach which facilitates development as well as area characteristic conservation. So imagine the people around the Purnaiha Canal, they start to value the value of Purnaiha Canal and the benefits they get by rejuvenating Purnaiha Canal. Probably, they'll support, they'll try to contribute in whatever way possible in rejuvenating it. Uh, Next, it tries to consider various urban issues and focuses beyond heritage conversation and helps to increase city livability. Again, Pune Canal, if it is going to improve the total urban environment around that area, if it is going to provide nice parks and playgrounds for kids to play, if it can also recharge the water and helps rejuvenate the borewells around that area, people will start liking it. It's an urban issue. And at the same time, at an institutional level, imagine if it can cater to the urban flooding, which the city corporation is actually fighting to conserve. Yes, again, the institutional setup will pitch in. Then it focuses on developing sustainable planning solutions for area using multiple scenario development and various set of matrices. So it is just not giving one kind of a scenario. Imagine for Mysore again, if we consider the rainfall as a scenario, uh, generally what happens is you'll find different types of rainfall. For example, high intensity, short duration rainfall, Then low intensity, long duration rainfall, the runoff is totally different. The way the drains will behave in both these conditions will be totally different. Even for sewages, the industrial sewages are the kind of sewage that comes out of industrial waste is totally different. The kind of sewage that comes out of household areas is totally different. So for each of these scenarios, how would you provide a solution, is also one of the principles of HUL. And then it also focuses on developing high-end infrastructure services. If I have to explain infrastructure service, imagine you you take a tree, for that matter, a people tree or a banyan tree. A banyan tree has many of the infrastructure services it provides. It provides habitat to the birds. It provides, obviously, it purifies air and provides a lot of oxygen. It improves the overall ecology around the system. So, if imagine if we have to cut that tree, and because humans generally understand the knowledge of money, and if you have to tie a cost to the tree, you wouldn't be able to give an exact figure of how much of an impact it will make by cutting that tree financially. So we follow this approach of infrastructure services where we try to understand, okay, this is the quantity of oxygen it is giving per day, this is the kind of habitat it is filling in, this is the kind of ecology it is maintaining, and we try to attach some sort of a costing to it. And then the authorities who are responsible for safeguarding it will be able to safeguard it better, because they'll understand the value of that individual tree is really high. So similarly, you can you can try to assess the infrastructure service of each and every environmental aspect around you. This is the principle the HUL follows, and how the heritage urban landscape approach can be implemented. Traditionally, what we used to do is, imagine there is a certain policy, for example, master plan. We do it, it's generally top down and technical in character. We prepare a master plan in our office, and then we publish it, and then we start to implement the provisions of the master plan. Imagine if the reverse happens. It's called the bottom up approach, where people and experts, that's what's happening with your team as well. A group of people and a group of experts are coming up with ideas and solutions which can be probably implemented. This is inclusivity of people. Uh, Now, traditionally, we were driven by regulatory authority. Uh, Hardly we would involve any community in any sort of development. For example, recently Purnaiha Canal, I think a part of the Purnaiha Canal was uh, channelized through concrete. Were experts contacted for it? I'll give you another classic example. In front of Mysuru University, overnight there was a roadblock which was laid, and we lost, I think, 4 or 5 young lives because they didn't know that the roadblock was laid there. They were approaching with quite some speed, and they toppled and they died. It had created quite a huge news over there. Were the community around consulted before that roadblock was implemented there? So if the inputs of the community around or the experts around was taken, probably we could have saved those 4 lives. Uh, Next is, currently we try to give sector based interventions. Sector based as in, if I say irrigation canal, if I say sewage canal, or a stormwater drainage, we will see stormwater drainage as a holistic network. We do not see how it behaves in individual areas. But the HUL approach says that it has to be done at an area level, at a micro level, not at a macro level. If you try to go to Karnataka Urban Water Supply and Drainage Board, you'll find a map which is at a regional level, where the local issues and the local drains and the local watersheds are not even taken into consideration. Generally, institutions work at a regional and a city level and not at area level, because we do not have the human resource or the capacities for it. If community driven designs happen, definitely area based approaches can be given. Again, less integration with other services, focus on single sector for providing facilities. You can see that we metal the roads first, and then somebody else will come and dig it up for electric lines, or data cables, or sewage lines, or water supply lines. However, if we work out on a holistic approach, now that is happening because we work in silos. We have different departments. and each of those departments work on their own projects, on their own tenders, on their own infrastructure lines, and that's the reason why we generally do not get this holistic development. But the this approach emphasizes on a holistic approach. Now when you guys are designing, these are the points you really have to think about. uh, you need to see how community can be brought together, how experts can be brought together, how it can be at an area level, at a micro level, and how it can be holistically. When you do the overlay analysis, you will understand that there are many layers of infrastructure and environment which you can bring in together into the proposals what you're giving. So HUL also, if you can go through the PDF, you'll find a toolkit also in this, where they have categorized into 4 different tools. One is knowledge and planning, one is community engagement tools, the regulatory system tools, and the financial tools. All these tools, all these ideas are only eventually to help us make this project into a reality. What happens is, imagine you come up with a beautiful design, and we do not have the regulatory mechanism to simply implement it. Your designs will simply remain on paper. But if you can actually go through the regulatory aspects of it, if you can go through how we can bring in funds, the CSR funds or probably the institutional funds, like we also have government also has a lot of funds which can implement into such projects. If you can understand those layers also, your project will mature as an implementable project eventually. I personally believe that's exactly what all students and working professionals should target at. The designs and the efforts what we put in, if it just remains on paper and if we cannot bring it on ground, uh, then all that effort is in vain. So, this toolkit provides for how and what different layers we can consider to make it into a reality. So what outcome can we get out of all these things? You'll have a strengthened sense of place. You'll have improved planning and design. You'll have higher land and property values. Everybody will appreciate if there's a beautiful, nice park right near their plot. More high-end service sector businesses will come in. It might attract tourism. I think there's this Osho garden in Pune. It was actually a sewage. It was a nala which, where, where they used to pump in sewage, and it was just like what Rishabhavati Nala we have, or the near Kengari in Bangalore, where it is stinking, and it doesn't have any qualities of a nala. But in Pune, I think it's called the Osho Garden. It was developed by the Osho organization, I guess. They ensured that that stretch which flows through their property was turned into a beautiful kind of a rivulet where it passes through the gardens, and it is attracting a lot of tourism over there. And then you'll also eventually attract a lot of revenues for heritage management. Now, revenue for I'll just get one step beyond this. Mysore has heritage rules, which also provides for taking funds from the public for management of heritage. So imagine there's a project which is done well, it is attracting tourism, it is attracting revenues. There'll be a lot of investors who will be trying to invest upon there, put in their advertisements over there, and eventually we will be achieving the sustainable development goals, which should be the ultimate cause for any sort of development or infrastructure related issues or planning related issues. So what should, after doing all these things, I'm just thinking aloud, this is something you guys have to work it out. I'm not an expert on this aspect. uh, I'm just a government employee now. I cannot think the way you guys can think. So eventually the outcome of all these things, the overlay analysis, the 5 Is, the HUL approach, all these things should help you translate into design decisions. I remember when I was in third semester architecture, uh, we used to just sit in the class and look up to the ceiling. And our teachers used to come and ask, "What are you doing?" And we used to think we are taking inspiration. And that's not how design should work. Design should be driven by a lot of data, lot of analysis, lot of diagnosis, and lot of involvement from the stakeholders. So that's what should eventually lead into your design decisions. I've just added few points. Ecology generally gives you structure, history gives meaning to it, Planning gives coordination because planning doesn't happen in silo. Lot of people, lot of departments, lot of institutions should come together and design, which you guys are really good at. That gives the form, right? So eventually, don't just design the canal. You need to concentrate on the watershed. uh, don't just restore the water visually. You need to restore the ecological process. Only then I feel the true purpose is served. uh, with this, I think I will close my presentation here. I have two questions here. Is removal of concrete embankments encouraged, or should we reinterpret them using bioengineered solutions? Again, I'm not an expert in this, but as far as my theoretical knowledge goes, uh, yes, in many of the countries they are removing the concrete embankments, and they're trying to make let water bodies flow in its natural course. Water bodies are dynamic in nature. They meander, they swell, they reduce during dry spells. So that space should be given. But bioengineered solutions, yes, it can definitely be a solution. Probably we will understand only when it is implemented. I do not have much case studies where the success stories can be shared with you. How much hold we have to change macro level decisions like government to the request we give for revenue model? A lot of interactions will happen. I'm confident that with the kind of movement you guys have started and it has led to, you will be able to influence the government. Even government is open. I'm just speaking for the government. I'm not authorized to, but still, these days you will see a lot of government departments are open to such discussions. There's a lot of funding which is coming from both central government and state government to take up such projects. And definitely, if you go with a concrete solution, implementable solution, and in a language where the government authorities will understand, uh, definitely government will be more than happy to adopt the ideas what you brought. And again, future is not government. This I keep telling whenever I get an opportunity. Future is going to be the partnership between the private sector and the government sector. I'll give you a couple of simple examples. I do not know if I have to make these statements here, but these are real-time stories. In one of the departments which had a human resource strength of 300, the department strength has come down to 100, and the remaining work which was supposed to be done by the other 200 people has been given to the private sector now. This is in the state accounts department. Even in urban development department, all the planning and regulatory procedures what were being originally done by the government. I'm in the panel where we are amending the laws for municipal corporations. We are giving it to the civil engineers and architects, so that there's diversification of power and they get some responsibility and they'll be able to do the work what we are doing. So definitely there's a lot of hopes for future of our country. There'll be a lot of capital flowing in. There'll be a lot of private and government partnerships. How does HUL help in resolving conflicts between conservation and redevelopment? uh, I have not personally implemented any project with this approach. In fact, we are in the pipeline of seeing how well we can adopt it in one of the projects here in Bangalore. Uh, Definitely, it gives a comprehensive approach. As far as the case studies goes, there are many projects across the world. As far as the case study goes, the approach is quite comprehensive. It basically brings people together. It brings the institutions together. When all of them come on the same platform, there'll be what would I say, compounding effect of the safeguarding the ecology or the infrastructure lines. People will be safeguarding it from one end. Institutions will be responsible for maintenance at the other end. There'll be other private partners who will be pulling in money. So definitely, it's a more comprehensive approach. I think you can explore that as well. Stop it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Vishwa. But just want to ask you, you know, since you are a planner, environmental planner, and then you do take decision at your table on various things. So now this is not directed to you, but the system itself. Now, why are we trying to neglect this entire natural system altogether when it comes to the planning?
If I may speak on behalf of Mysore Master Plan, uh, we have considered this layer of safeguarding Purnaiha Canal or the ecological systems, even in Bangalore. In Bangalore, it is even more robust. We have just not, you know, ensured that we have identified these natural systems. We have given buffers, and we have also identified sensitive zones, which is beyond the buffer. Now, the problem is we are also influenced by a lot of external factors. Development is one huge pressure which we can't hold it by ourselves. Development pressure is so huge that now in Bangalore we are allowing developments in sensitive areas. We have to, because land is of high value. Even in Mysore, if you try to do a quick survey around Purnaiha Canal, you just walk around, you'll see a lot of unauthorized developments over there. Why do unauthorized developments crop up? Because there is value for land. And when it comes to an individual, he will not know the value of Purnaiha Canal. He will not even know it is Purnaiha Canal. In fact, I didn't know it was Purnaiha Canal while I was residing there. It was right opposite to mine. It was only when I came to your institution to talk about Purnaiha Canal, I realized, oh, it is actually flowing right in front of my house. And I very well remember on the banks of Purnaiha Canal, there is this huge local street vendor space where they sell food, and then there's a lot of plastic waste which is thrown into Purnaiha Canal. This happens because people do not know the value of it, and that's what the HOL approach actually says. You need to bring people together, you need to understand the cultural and heritage value of it, and then people start liking it. For example, we do Ganga Aarti to river Ganga, and now they're taking it at a very big level, and they've cleaned all the ghats and everything, and people over there by themselves are trying to safeguard the whole ghats and kind of waste which goes into the river. And similarly, they are trying to implement that in to river Kaveri as well. Now, if you observe on national highways, wherever the river Kaveri flows, they are trying to put in a placard stating that there's river Kaveri flowing below. We all have that cultural value for our ecological systems, because culturally we do pray our own ecology. We pray to trees, we pray to rivers, we pray to hills. So we need to bring in people, and probably then this requires kind of an approach where everybody comes together on the same page.
Yes, that is very true. Yeah, we have our leaf industries, that is architect Rajesh saying in other states it has been initiated, but not in Karnataka. I mean,
What is initiated in other
I
states?
think it is HUL, what is being done. Yeah.
HUL is not a mandatory thing. It is just an
Yeah.
approach which is recommended by UN. And yes, India is a signatory of UN Charter.
Yes.
Uh, there are many things which states are trying to implement, but knowledge always compounds when people come together. What I know is very limited compared to what we know together. this
Yes.
this bridge is what is very important. That's exactly, I love this kind of interaction, because I get to learn a lot from you. Had it been an open session where we could have met one to one, I could have learned a lot more from you guys. It would have accumulated into a compounded into a better knowledge. Yes,
Yes.
in Karnataka, I'm sure isolated events like what you guys are doing will be happening. It would not, government is a huge system. It's a huge system. We will not know what's happening everywhere around us.
Yeah. I think today's presentation, what you took us through, was very informative. So, thank you very much for that. The sector based intervention. This particular thing we really understood when we were doing the field study, because the area to area, or the ward where what we were talking, the ward engineers, they were finding it difficult, and they themselves could not understand the system what we were trying to look at. So I think you have really nailed the point there. The storm way, whatever, the natural drainage that you would want to stress on, it's area based design, and with a holistic, you know, idea about it. I think that's really nice. And I would also like to end, I really, what you mentioned, translate the design decision, what you had put 4 points, that is ecology gives structures, history gives meaning, planning gives coordination, and design gives form. Really nicely, very precisely put across also. And you, as a professional, you have given us or told us design the watershed and not the canal. I think that's a very big, summary of this entire talk, and to the participants who will be working on the, the design challenge, we could say it, not just the design. And don't restore water visually, restore ecological processes. I think, thank you so much for that, Vishwa. Uh, and I think there are, Raya Rajesh has also put in hope for a better result with increasing peoples in this group and spread of this message. Yes. And Dr. Balaji wishes all the participants and partners. Yes. Thank you, Dr. Balaji, for that. And I also would like to take it is Dr. Balaji who introduced Vishwa to us. Yeah, thanks to that also, Balaji. And on behalf of all the organizing partners, that is Water Forum Mysuru, Mysore School of Architecture, and Aranya Outreach, along with or the support of Bengaluru Sustainability Forum, this particular work for the last 2 to 3 years, we have been working on various layers of information, the technical as well as how can we make it into simple language and take it to the community and the neighbors is what we are trying to look at. Yes, one other thing to be tapped is how can the bureaucracy or the administration take in all these information and then make it into part of the system, and the master plan is what we are also hoping for. And I think with this particular note, we will say a goodbye till the next expert talk, which we will be announcing it very shortly. Thanks to all of you. And thank you once again, Vishwa. And thanks to the tech team, Hananil and Hemant, for today's webinar. Thank you all.